Ultimately, of course, Shamima Begum is a British citizen, and there's no amount of politicking that's going to change that. I was indeed held in Guantanamo with people who were teenagers, and those teenagers eventually were repatriated to their countries. Some of them were accused of having committed crimes, and others were not. In the case of Shamima Begum, it's really important that we understand that several others have already returned to the UK. Several ISIS-Daesh people have returned to the UK. Some have faced prosecution, some have had their kids taken away from them, and some are walking on the streets quite free. So this furore around Shamima Begum primarily is because she decided to go to the media, and the politicians, Shahzad Javed, the Home Secretary in particular, wanted to look tough. But the reality is that there are far more dangerous people in British prisons, even as we speak. When people commit crimes, there are people who've committed mass murder, gang rape and all sorts of terrible crimes who are sitting in British prisons. So we have the tools to deal with people like this already.
Okay. And you said the US Home Secretary did what he did to look tough. Did he make a mistake? And also we've just heard some media reports coming out now that even her dad agrees with the government's move to cancel her citizenship.
Well, the problem is her father said something along the lines of, from what I've heard, is that if it's the law of the land, then it's okay. Well, the law of the land here is absolutely, it's not clear at all that the Home Secretary is following the law of the land, because the law of the land is that under the United Nations Declaration on Human Rights, nobody can have their citizenship arbitrarily removed, nobody can be exiled, and nobody can be made stateless. And that's exactly what's happened, because Shamima Begum's other nationality purportedly is supposed to be Bangladeshi, and the Bangladeshi Foreign Ministry has already said that she is not a national of this country and she will not be returning here. So effectively she's been left stateless, ironically in a camp where there's about 39,000 ISIS prisoners who are all affecting and her own situation there, and even statements that she makes out from that place to the media must be seen in the context of her speaking from that place.
And one of those statements, or not a statement, is she hasn't said that she's sorry.
Well, can you imagine that she's surrounded by tons of people, literally 39,000, which include Russians, Chechens, Saudis, Tunisians and so forth, all who declared their allegiance to the so-called Islamic State. And in the midst of that, this person who says that she was just a housewife, wasn't very deeply indoctrinated. I don't think she knows very much about the Islamic law or the law that the Islamic State was putting about and so forth. So I don't know whether all of those things can be properly interrogated. And the worst thing, of course, is that in Britain we believe in fair trial, innocent until proven guilty and so forth. And more importantly, the trial by media is simply not an option in determining a person's guilt or punishment. And having your nationality revoked is a punishment, and that's only happened because of a trial by media.
And let's talk about this. You're calling this a trial by media. You're there in the UK where Shamima Begum lives. What's your assessment of the way the British media is covering this?
Well, of course, I mean, I'll be the first one to say that ISIS, Islamic State, has killed many people, including many of my personal friends inside Syria and beyond. So there is, of course, in Britain, there have been people killed by ISIS, no more than 30, to be honest. ISIS has killed far more people in Syria and in the Muslim world, and in this regard, it's as if we're jumping ahead of the queue, saying that, look, this person needs to stay there where ISIS has carried out the most damage, as if her presence here would really shock our country. It would really put our security to threat. The truth is, we're in a pre-Brexit Britain, and anti-Muslim feeling, anti-immigrant feeling, anti-foreigner feeling, xenophobia is at the height of this country's situation. We've never had it so bad as we do right now, and this is fed into that. So you've got people from the far right rising up, and their language almost becoming the norm. Despite the fact that you've had the former head of the British Army, you've had the former head of MI6, you've had the former Chancellor, all calling for the return of Shamima Begum and for her to be treated with compassion.